Bonjour à tous et bienvenue dans cette série dédiée à la communication en entreprise. Que vous fassiez partie des équipes de communication, des équipes RH, des équipes IT ou que vous soyez dirigeant, chef d'entreprise ou encore champion, cette série est faite pour vous. N'est-ce pas Charline ?
Exactement, elle est faite pour vous parce qu'à travers de cette série, on va aborder les nouveaux challenges qui sont liés à la communication interne. Donc ce qu'il faut repenser et surtout, on va faire ça étape par étape. On va voir comment tout mettre ça en place. Donc à noter que cette série, elle fait écho au livre blanc qu'on a écrit ensemble sur ce même sujet et vous allez le retrouver dans la description de cet épisode.
Et pour rentrer dans le vif du sujet, Charline, je te propose d'aller rencontrer John Cirone, qui dirige la communication chez Microsoft pour toutes les filiales dans le monde et qui a quelque chose à nous partager. Je vous laisse regarder la vidéo.
Hello, John. It's so nice to be here with you today. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. John, you are leading the global employee and executive communication team at Microsoft. What would you say is the main goal of such an organization today?
Sure. My team and the function of global executive employee comms is really about creating experiences and communications to help drive and keep employees engaged and proud and informed to be at Microsoft.
Oh, yeah, amazing. So we are really shifting from content. We're not no longer talking about content creation, content sharing. It's way more and deeper about culture and reputation. Amazing. And when we are talking about all of that and about employee and executive communication, we may be thinking about long emails or big events to share the culture. And of course, in an era where we are really restricted in terms of travels and we are overflooded by emails, how should we do that?
Yeah, I think you're pointing to a couple of kind of key challenges that we're facing right now. It is a challenging time, right? Employees are working from different locations, often in their homes, in different towns, in different countries. We aren't together anymore in the same office environment. So I think one of the most challenging things for somebody in a comms role like this is how do you create that connection, right? How do you encourage employees to have confidence in their leadership? How do you create that dialogue with leaders and employees over time? And so just sort of using the old tools, which would be sort of, email, kind of a one-way all hands, those don't work in a space when you're physically separated all the time and you're trying to create connection, right? So it's really about sort of how do you, in my mind, it's about how do you create that sort of ongoing conversation and how do you demonstrate kind of that sort of open environment that encourages a cycle of listening and feedback and kind of responsiveness.
Okay, amazing. Well, and how do you make sure with the different tools that we have today, with the different solutions that we have, how can we make sure that we are actually reaching the employees while at the same time they are busy working on their business, they are busy on their own location. So how do you make sure to have their attention actually?
Yeah, I mean, you're calling out lots of the more challenging pieces of being in an executive comms role, right? We're living in a world that's full of information and there's many ways to get that information. So you have to meet employees kind of where they're at. And currently, at least within Microsoft, right, employees are spending their time, both in teams and meetings throughout the day, and of course, Outlook and other aspects of the office environment. And so I think for us, it really is about sort of as a leadership team, how do you show up frequently in front of employees? And that can take many forums, right? And I guess we're lucky now, there's so many different tools that you can use and channels that you can use that as leaders have their own authentic styles and their own ways that they like to communicate, you can find the tool that best works. The ones that we see at Microsoft working the best currently are the ones that allow for that two-way conversation, right? Where leaders can express a point of view in real time and employees can then respond and share their reactions. They can be engaged, they can ask questions, and you have kind of that constant cycle, right, that goes on. So for us, the tools that allow that, like Viva Engage, like an AMA, which is an Ask Me Anything. Those are two examples of tools that allow for that kind of back and forth conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. And we are lucky for the people that are watching us. We are going to develop in the next chapters how to use these solutions, how to have your own leaders getting their hands on that and really building and creating these two-way dialogues and having the employee really reacted to everything that's happening across the organization. Really amazing. Well, to conclude kind of this chapter, John, what would you say are the few key learnings and advices you have for internal communication teams nowadays?
I mean, there's so many things to learn and pay attention to now. I think it's challenging for all of us. I mean, for me, Microsoft is grounded in the idea of a growth mindset. We're a growth mindset culture, right, which values learning constantly. And to be a good learner, you got to be a good listener, right? So I think one of the first kind of lessons for me now is, it's easy for anyone in comms or for a leader to say things like, we value feedback. We want to hear from you. But to do that requires intentionality, right? You have to create the environment that embraces kind of a listening and feedback culture. You have to put the forums and the tools in place to allow employees to express their opinions. As a leadership team, you have to actually read the data and analyze the data and then show employees that you've heard them and that you're responding in some ways to the feedback, right? And all of those things are intentional steps you have to put in place to make that happen. But when you do that, that creates a really effective kind of flow for information and a cycle of learning in an organization that I think is critical today to keeping employees engaged and trying to foster that connection that I think we're all craving in a world where we're not together every day in the same space.
Amazing. Thank you so much, John, for all of these advices, all of these learnings. And I'm really excited for our viewers to take a look at this interview. Thank you so much. We'll see you maybe in the near future, and I will see you soon.
Great, thank you.
Merci Robin pour cette interview, c'était super. Là, on voit, on le comprend bien, la communication interne, c'est un métier qui change et ça se passe aujourd'hui. Et il est vraiment nécessaire de se concentrer sur la création d'un dialogue en continu avec les employés. Et qu'est-ce que ça va permettre? Eh bien, ça va permettre de les écouter, bien évidemment, d'augmenter leur engagement, mais aussi et enfin de recréer ce fameux lien qui manquait.
Exactement. Et je vous retrouve donc dans le prochain épisode où je recevrai Jean-Christophe Pitié, qui est directeur des opérations chez Microsoft France, qui nous parlera de son rapport d'étonnement ainsi que ce qu'il a mis en place avec ses équipes pour adresser ces différents sujets. À très vite.